What's going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, MovieFiles. We are here today to discuss the new sports comedy remake of the 1992 classic of the same name, and that is White Men Can't Jump, coming to Hulu on May 19th. Now, I got the chance to check it out early, and in today's review, I'm going to let you all know if this is one of those rare Hollywood remakes that's worth your time, or if it's one of those quintessential Hollywood remakes that's just there as a cash grab. We'll be discussing that and much more in today's review, but first, let me know in the comments if you were a fan of the 92 original, and if so, were you excited for this remake? And once you've seen the remake on Hulu, what did you all think? We're talking pros and cons, what really worked, what didn't work, and if you're a sports fan, and particularly a basketball fan, what are some of your favorite basketball movies that you have seen? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And if you all appreciate today's review, consider hitting that like button, sharing today's spoiler-free review, and of course, consider subscribing to the channel. So for me, I'm a 90s kid, so I grew up with the original, and I love it, man. It's one of my favorite sports movies. It's, White Men Can't Jump, Blue Chips, He Got Game, Above the Rim, just to name a few. So going into this film, I saw the trailer, a month or two ago, and I saw that trailer and I said, oh my goodness, man, here we go, another Hollywood remake, just slapping the IP and just trying to do a cash grab. So putting that aside, I went to this new film and gave it a fair chance, and here we are talking about it. And I want to start off with the pros, and I want to talk as a basketball fan. Look, I grew up playing basketball through middle school, high school, and college. I'm a big fan of the sport, so I love sports films, I love basketball films, and when it comes to the basketball element of this movie, it was pretty good, y'all. I gotta say, I got an eye for these things. Again, you look at basketball movies or when they're playing basketball on a TV show, you're like, yo, I know that's not the actor dribbling the ball, shooting the ball, laying the ball up. It's a stunt double. And for the most part, you can tell that the actors in this film, either they played basketball in their past or they trained to play basketball so they can look authentic while playing basketball in this film. And it came off in this movie. And I really appreciate that because, again, when you're seeing them doing a crossover, shooting threes, doing a pick and roll, pick and pop, when it's not the actor and when they try to cut it so quickly that you can't tell what's going on, it throws me out of it as a basketball fan and as a sports fan. But in this movie, it was handled pretty well. And there's a good amount of basketball scenes in this movie that I enjoyed. So I will say that from a basketball fans, at least from my perspective, it was handled pretty well. Now, as far as the movie and the acting is concerned, we'll be talking about the lead actors in a little bit, but as far as supporting characters, there were two actors in mind that I really enjoyed. Number one, Teyana Taylor. I've been following her for a while and seeing her transition from being a singer to now an actress. It started off rough. She's been in some movies that the movies weren't that great, but she wasn't that great either. But she has really gotten better as an actress to me, especially just recently this year with 1001. She was great in that movie, and she was pretty solid in this film. Now, she's not in it a lot. She plays one of our main character's girlfriends, and she has a very small role, but a good enough role that it left an impact on me. I thought that she's really shaping up to be a good actress in my eyes, and I wish she had more to do in the movie because when she was on screen, she got that flair, she got that swag, and I'm just a fan of her as an individual, so I really enjoyed her performance, even though it was limited. Which, speaking of limited, and this, first off, rest in peace to the late great Lance Reddick, who I forgot, I couldn't remember if he was in a trailer or not, but I forgot he was in the movie, and he pops up within the first 2 minutes. I'm like, oh man, I forgot he was in it. And then of course, like I said, rest in peace to him, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family. But he was great in this movie, man. As I'll talk about later, dramatic moments in this film weren't that great, but when he was involved in those moments, I really enjoyed the earnestness that he brought to his role. So again, supporting characters, Teyana Taylor and Lance Reddick, to me were two of the highlights as far as the acting goes in this film. And then another thing I will mention, the film starts off in a very interesting enough way that it was trying to create its own narrative and not just be like a copy and paste script and a copy and paste story from the original. So I do like kind of the nuances they were trying to add to our characters as far as both growing up, trying to play basketball, trying to go pro, and also changing up the relationship dynamic of what they were doing in their own individual stories. So I do appreciate some of the new wrinkles they were adding to the story and not, again, just copying the 92 original. And then last thing I'll mention, the runtime felt appropriate to me for the story that we were given. It's about an hour and 35 minutes, and if you take away the credits, it's like an hour and 40 or whatnot. But, I thought that runtime was appropriate for the story that we got here. So that's the last of my pros. I want to get into my cons, and the first thing I'll say, and I'm just going to be 100% blunt and honest, I didn't like this movie. This film was not for me for the most part. First thing that kind of comes to mind is it really lacked chemistry, not only from our two main characters, Kamal and Jeremy, but really the entire cast when they were on screen with our two leads. everyone just felt off. Like, there didn't seem to be any kind of joy in the film. It just felt very lackluster in the chemistry department. Now, pivoting that over to when the film tries to be its own thing and tries to tell its own story, which again, I appreciated that, but then there's like 50% of the movie relies heavily on recreating key moments from the original, and when this film tried to recreate, whether it was Sydney and Billy coming together, the moment where we see if a white man can't jump, things like that, when this film tried to recreate it, it just fell completely flat for me. But focusing on our main characters and then comparing it to Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson when we had Sydney and Billy, individually, those characters were great on their own right. When they had their own stories, they were great, but when they came together, it was magic. And speaking of magic, them on the court, it was like watching Larry Bird and Magic Johnson on the court, right? And their characters, they had charisma, they had funk, they had flair, they had swag. And I'm not trying to compare these actors to some legends, but again, just knowing that time of their careers, you know, where Wesley Snipes was coming in from this movie, coming off of New Jack City, Woody Harrelson building his filmography, they were somewhat still newer actors, but they had charisma. I can't say that for these two actors. And again, when you look at the chemistry that they had in that first one, they had their differences, right? That was the whole thing in the film, a white man, black man, white man can't jump, all the jokes they were throwing at Billy. But then ultimately, they came together because they realized they had a lot more in common. This film just falls flat on all those fronts. I look at Sinqua Walls, who plays Kamal. Now, I've seen him on TV, and I know he's a capable actor. Like, I've seen him on Friday Night Lights and some other projects. He's a really good actor. But unfortunately, in this film, to me, he didn't really bring much to the role. He was just kind of one note through the entire film. He really lacked charisma. He had no swag. He had no charm. And again, I'm not trying to compare him to Wesley Snipes, but Kamal was just like very lackluster when it came to that department. And transitioning to Jack Harlow, who I know there's some fans of his. I've really only heard like one or two songs of his, so he's okay when it comes to an artist, I guess. But as far as an actor, this is his first acting gig and his acting debut, and it was not good. Looking at this character, they gave him more to do as far as the personality goes compared to Kamal, and he was okay in those moments, but when he was asked to bring the more dramatic roles to life, he just fell flat to me in those dramatic roles, especially with his girlfriend played by Laura Harrier, who, by the way, she's okay in the things I've seen her in, but she was not good in this movie as well. So a lot of the main actors were not that great in their role, but I can't put all the blame on the acting. I got to share some of that blame to the directing as well as the writing of this film. And we have the director, Calmatic, who made his directing debut earlier this year with House Party, which I haven't seen, but I haven't heard the greatest things about that. So Hollywood's giving him two, classics who I grew up with, House Party and now this. And I'll say this about the director. I support his future in directing because I know he's come from making commercials and music videos, which some of my favorite directors, they started off making music videos and commercials. So I'm not poo-pooing on that industry and not saying that people that make music videos can't be directors, because that's definitely not the case. But I support him in his future endeavors. But when it comes to, and I haven't seen House Party, but when it comes to this film, individually speaking, as a director, I thought that he definitely is one of those directors, as you can tell, he's more style over substance. Just looking at how he puts the film together, he cuts it almost as if he's making a music video, where to me, he didn't allow the scenes to breathe. Now again, the basketball scenes, they were cut well, they were edited well, but when things slow down and you have these character moments when they're talking to each other and really trying to break down who they are as individuals, those scenes to me were just so flat. And again, style over substance 99% of this film from the directional standpoint. But switching over to the writing of this film, now the writing really is flat and really bland in my opinion. And when you look at the writing, you have 3 of the writers for the story, you have 2 on the script, and there is a common denominator with that, and that is Kenya Barris. Now, he's done some great work on TV for me, but it hasn't translated to the movies I've seen of his. His jokes really don't work for me, and the way he crafts the dramatic moments, and when he has these more sentimental, slower moments in all the movies I've seen him do, they just don't feel organic. They feel like they're forced. They feel like they're manufactured. They feel like he just writes like, okay, we've had all these happy, funny moments, but then we gotta like have the conflict. And whenever he has conflict in his scripts, they just come off very forced and very unnatural. So it's a combination of the acting, it's a combination of the writing, it's a combination of directing that just didn't work for my sensibilities. And I can go on about the pacing being off, the jokes jokes running way too long, and when we wrap up the film, it just felt like it was just like so lackluster and just left a bad taste in my mouth personally. But look, man, before we wrap this thing up, I want to take the time to thank you all for sticking around to this point in the video. I'm going to give you all my overall thoughts, my score, but again, I just want to thank you all. With that being said, overall, I really wish Hollywood would realize that you can't just slap a title on a beloved film and repackage it without originality or depth. This film lacked character development, story structure, chemistry, and at the end of the day, it just wasn't a film that I enjoyed. And I'm going to give the remake 2023 of White Man Can't Jump a 2 out of 5. Now, the 2 comes from just a simple fact of I thought the basketball scenes were handled well, and Lance Reddick and Teyana Taylor, they were the only earnest characters and the only characters that I really cared for. So, 2 out of 5. Should I watch this, Elliot, when it comes on Hulu on May 19th? Hey, if you literally have nothing else to do, and if you're intrigued, and if you like the trailer, give it a watch. But I'm just telling y'all, as far as it goes for me, this film didn't work on so many levels. So that's why, again, I gave it a 2 out of 5. But if you all have seen the remake, I want to know your thoughts on it in the comments. What did you love? What did you like? What didn't you like? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And also, like I said, share some of your favorite basketball movies in the comments below. Thank you all for watching today's review. I really wish this film was a lot better than what it was. But hey, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But again, thank you for watching the review. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, comment your thoughts in the comments section, and of course, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with all my daily reviews. Thank you again. Hope you all are staying safe. Hope you had a good time, because I certainly did. Even though I didn't like this movie, but I love interacting with you all. As you can see on the screen now, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out all my movie reviews so far from this year. Check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all on the next video.